The Galactic Assembly was the largest gathering place in the known universe. It was not one single building, but a vast floating station the size of a moon, orbiting a golden star in neutral space. Thousands of ships from different civilizations docked there every day, and its shining towers stretched into the void like fingers pointing to infinity. Inside its grand halls, delegates from hundreds of alien species came together to debate laws, trade agreements, and the future of the galaxy itself. On this particular day, the assembly was full of anticipation. Rumors had spread for months about a new species that had finally achieved interstellar flight. They called themselves humans, and they came from a blue-green planet known locally as Earth. To most members of the assembly, Earth was just a small, unremarkable world on the edge of a spiral arm. Few expected much from these latecomers. As the great hall filled, voices buzzed in dozens of languages. Long-bodied Sarathians coiled their scaled tails around the silver benches. The insectoid Zelric clicked their mandibles in curiosity. The tall bird-like Firans spread their wings in amusement. Everyone had heard the same whispers. Earth ships were coming, and they were supposed to be laughably primitive. The laughter began even before the humans arrived. "Did you hear?" One delegate from the crystalline Kareth race said, his body glowing faintly. "Their ships are built from metal welded together like ancient scrap. No biofusion, no living hulls, no energy-grown frames, just metal plates." A chorus of chuckles followed. Another voice added, "And I heard their engines burn chemicals." Actual chemicals. Who does that anymore? The assembly erupted in laughter, and the noise echoed through the towering chamber. The laughter grew louder when the first of Earth's ships appeared on the great viewing screens. The alien fleets were sleek, flowing like art sculptures, their surfaces glowing with smooth energy shields. In comparison, Earth's ships looked clumsy and heavy. They had sharp angles, visible seams, and dark hulls covered with heat marks from their journeys. "They look like children's toys," one delegate sneered. "Not even toys," another corrected. "They look like floating debris held together by glue." More laughter filled the chamber. Yet, when the human delegation stepped into the assembly hall, they did not seem offended. They walked forward calmly, their steps steady, their heads held high. There were only 5 of them, dressed in simple uniforms of deep blue with the emblem of Earth stitched across their chests. Compared to the elaborate robes, feathers, and shining gems worn by other species, the humans seemed plain. But there was something in their eyes that caught attention. A steadiness, a quiet confidence. At the center of the chamber, the speaker of the assembly rose. The speaker was from the ancient Loran species, beings of pure light contained in crystal shells. His voice resonated like music. "Delegates of the Galactic Assembly," the speaker announced. "Today we welcome a new species into our community. They call themselves humans. They have arrived from the planet Earth. Let us hear their introduction." The hall grew quieter, though whispers still spread. The humans' leader, Captain Elias Grant, stepped forward. He was not tall compared to many species, but he carried himself with the calm authority of someone used to command. His voice when he spoke was steady and clear. "We are honored to stand here today among so many advanced civilizations," he began. "We come from a world that has only recently reached the stars. For us, this journey has been long and difficult, but also filled with discovery and hope." His words were respectful, but they did not stop the smirks across the hall. Many delegates looked at each other as if to say, "Yes, difficult indeed for a backward race like yours." Grant continued, "We know that when you see our ships, they may not look like yours. They may not shine or grow or sing as yours do. They may seem simple, but every bolt, every wire, every plate was built by human hands. Every system was designed through our own effort. We have built these ships without borrowing from others, without ancient technology left behind for us. We built them ourselves, piece by piece, step by step." The hall was quiet for a moment. Then laughter erupted again. "Piece by piece." One delegate mocked, "Primitive!" Another cried. The bird-like Firans flapped their wings in amusement, and the insectoid Zelric clattered their mandibles in mocking rhythm. But the humans did not react with anger. They stood silently, letting the storm of laughter pass. Captain Grant's eyes scanned the hall. His expression did not change. Another human, Commander Sophia Reyes, finally spoke. Her voice was calm but carried an edge of pride. "When our ancestors looked up at the stars, they had nothing. No guidance, no ancient archives, no gifts from the heavens. Just questions, And with those questions came determination. In a few short centuries, we crossed oceans, then skies, then the void of space itself. What you see before you is not the work of thousands of years of inherited knowledge. It is the work of sheer will, creativity, and persistence. You may laugh at what you see, but every ship in our fleet carries the story of human struggle and human hope. For the first time, the laughter slowed. Some delegates tilted their heads, curious despite themselves. The Speaker of the Assembly raised a hand, calling for silence. "Very well," he said. "Earth has spoken. Soon their fleet will be tested in the trials. Only then will we see whether their creations are worthy of respect." The humans nodded. As they left the stage, whispers filled the air once more. Some voices still mocked. "They will fail the first trial. Their ships will break apart. They don't know what they are doing." But a few voices were quieter, thoughtful. "Strange," one alien murmured. "They did not seem ashamed." "No," another agreed. "They seemed proud." Outside the assembly hall, the Earth fleet floated in the starry void. Against the background of alien brilliance, they looked like shadows of an earlier age. Yet within those shadows burned engines that told another story. Not of weakness, but of a species that had always built its future with its own hands. The laughter of the galaxy had begun. But in the silence of space, the humans knew something the others did not. This was only the beginning. The day after Earth's introduction to the Galactic Assembly, the vast docking rings of the station buzzed with activity. Delegates from every known civilization came and went, their ships gleaming like polished jewels against the blackness of space. Among these wonders, Earth's fleet sat quietly in its assigned sector. Their ships, built of metal and sweat, looked small and plain beside the grand vessels that shimmered with alien design. To the casual eye, the humans' fleet seemed fragile, an accident waiting to happen. But inside those ships, the truth of human achievement was hidden, waiting to be understood. Captain Elias Grant stood in the observation deck of Earth's flagship, Endeavour, staring out at the alien fleets. Some ships looked like flowing rivers of crystal. Others resembled glowing seashells or living creatures with wings. The contrast made the Endeavour's hull seem ordinary. Yet Grant's eyes did not waver. He had lived long enough to know that appearances were not everything. Commander Sophia Reyes joined him. She carried a datapad filled with notes from their engineers. "They are still laughing," she said softly. "The delegates call our fleet outdated. Some even said our engines belong in a museum." Grant allowed himself a small smile. "Let them laugh. They don't know the journey we took to get here. They don't know what we've built." Reyes nodded. "Do you think they will ever understand?" "Eventually," Grant replied, his voice steady. "Because the truth always reveals itself. Our strength isn't in how our ships look. It's in what they represent." Meanwhile, in one of the assembly's private lounges, alien delegates gathered in small circles, their voices filled with amusement. The insectoid Zelric clicked their mandibles. "Did you see the human ships up close? Their hulls are stitched together with visible seams. Who builds ships like that?" The bird-like Firans spread their wings in laughter. "They still rely on chemical thrusters for some of their systems. Imagine using fire to move through space." But not all joined the laughter. Among the crowd sat an elder from the Cerathians, a species known for their wisdom. His scales shimmered in the dim light as he listened carefully. Finally he spoke, his deep voice cutting through the noise. "Do not underestimate them too quickly. A species that builds without guidance learns lessons others do not. They may look crude, but that crudeness could hide strength." His words were met with silence for a moment, then quickly brushed aside by more laughter. Few wanted to consider the possibility that the humans had something special. Back on the Endeavour, Earth's engineers gathered in the main briefing room. The air was filled with the hum of machines and the faint scent of metal. These men and women were not warriors, but builders, dreamers, and problem-solvers. They sat around the table, each carrying the marks of long hours and countless trials. Dr. Marcus Hall, the chief engineer, adjusted his glasses and spoke with quiet pride. "What they don't see is how every part of our ships carries a story. Every engine has been tested under pressure. Every system was designed to survive failure. When other fleets encounter problems, they collapse. But when we face problems, we adapt. That is the human way." Lieutenant Amina Patel leaned forward. "They laugh at our welding seams. But those seams mean we can repair our ships anywhere, with whatever tools we have. We don't need special materials grown in star forges. We just need determination and a little creativity. Sophia Reyes added, exactly. Our fleet may not shine like theirs, but it works because we built it ourselves. Every mistake became a lesson. Every failure became a step forward. That's why we made it to the stars in only a few centuries. There was silence for a moment, filled with a sense of pride that bound them together. These were not ships handed down from ancient ancestors. These were not vessels built with secrets unlocked long before humanity existed. These ships were proof of human persistence. Later that evening, Captain Grant attended a private session with a group of curious alien scientists. Unlike the mocking delegates, these scientists were fascinated by Earth's rapid progress. They asked questions not to belittle, but to learn. How long did it take your species to achieve faster than light travel? One of them asked, her crystalline body glowing softly. Grant thought for a moment. Less than 300 years after we learned how to fly in our skies. Gasps filled the room. The average civilization took thousands of years to progress from flight to interstellar travel. To them, Earth's speed was almost impossible. Another scientist leaned closer, his voice full of disbelief. But how? Without shared technology? Without ancient archives? Grant answered simply, because we never stopped trying. Every obstacle we faced, we solved. Sometimes with mistakes, sometimes with loss, but always with persistence. We learned by building, by failing, by building again. That is our way. For the first time, there was no laughter. Only silence mixed with awe. The next morning, the assembly announced the first trial for Earth's fleet. The test was simple in name, but difficult in practice. A navigation challenge through the nebula corridor, a stretch of space filled with unstable currents of gas and shifting gravitational fields. The trial was designed to measure not only technology but adaptability. When the announcement was made, laughter returned among many delegates. The humans will never survive the corridor, one said confidently. They will lose their way in minutes, another added. But within Earth's fleet, the news was met with calm determination. In the control room of the Endeavour, Captain Grant stood before his crew. This is our chance, he told them. They believe we are weak. They believe we are unprepared. But what they call weakness is actually our strength. We were born to adapt. We were born to face the unknown. The crew nodded, their faces set with quiet resolve. Dr. Hall spoke with a smile. The nebula corridor will be difficult, yes. But our ships are designed for difficulty. Our systems are not rigid. They are flexible. We can make changes mid-course. We can repair in motion. We can improvise, Sophia Reyes added. And when we succeed, they will finally begin to see who we really are. That night, as Earth's fleet prepared for the trial, the stars around the station shimmered with distant light. Other fleets gleamed proudly, their hulls glowing with colors that painted the void. Earth's ships remained dark and plain, their shadows blending with the night. But inside those shadows burned something stronger than polished beauty, the quiet fire of human determination. They did not need to convince the galaxy with words. Soon, their actions would speak louder than any laughter. The hidden truth was simple. Earth's fleet was not weak. It was human. And that made all the difference. The day of the trial arrived. The Galactic Assembly gathered once more, filling the grand observation chambers with excitement. Word had spread quickly across the station. Every delegate, every scientist, and every curious onlooker wanted to witness the humans' first challenge. The nebula corridor stretched across the viewing screens, a swirling sea of color and light. It was one of the galaxy's most unpredictable regions, a place where even advanced fleets struggled to pass. Shifting clouds of gas blocked sensors, gravity currents twisted paths without warning. Many saw it as a test of both technology and creativity. For the humans, it was a chance to prove themselves. Inside the Endeavour, Captain Elias Grant stood on the command deck. His eyes were fixed on the glowing nebula ahead. Around him, his crew prepared with calm determination. The hum of machines and the soft voices of officers filled the air. Commander Sophia Reyes spoke, her tone steady. Sensors are ready. Engines are on standby. All systems green. Dr. Marcus Hall, the chief engineer, added, I've rerouted power to give us flexibility in case we hit turbulence. If something breaks, we can patch it mid-course, Grant nodded. Good, remember this trial isn't about looking perfect. It's about finishing. We don't need beauty. We need resilience. The crew exchanged small smiles. That was something they understood well. On the assembly side, the laughter had returned. The insectoid Zelric clicked their mandibles in amusement. The corridor will crush their crude machines in minutes. The bird-like Firans spread their wings and laughed. Their ships will drift helplessly until they are rescued. If they are rescued at all. Even some of the younger Cerathians, despite their elders' warning, whispered doubts. To them, it seemed impossible that humans could survive what other fleets barely managed with advanced technology. The speaker of the assembly raised his glowing hands for silence. The trial begins now. All fleets will enter the corridor and attempt to cross. May the results speak for themselves. With that, the navigation trial began. The alien fleets entered first, their ships glowing brightly against the swirling nebula. They moved with elegance, their paths carefully calculated. To the assembly, it was a show of grace, as if the ships were dancers moving through a storm. Then came the Earth fleet. Their ships looked plain and dark, their angles sharp and unpolished. Yet they entered the corridor with steady engines moving as one. The screens inside the assembly filled with their progress, and murmurs spread through the crowd. At first, the human ships seemed slow compared to others. But soon something unusual became clear. When unexpected turbulence hit, alien fleets struggled to adjust. They paused, recalculated, and sometimes stalled. The humans, however, did not stall. Inside the Endeavor, alarms rang as the first wave of turbulence struck. Panels flickered and the ship jolted. "Gravity shift on the starboard side," Reyes shouted. "Compensating," Dr. Hall replied quickly, his fingers moving across controls. "Redirecting thrusters manually. Adjusting hull stress levels." The Endeavor shook again, but it did not break. The humans moved with calm focus, treating the unexpected event not as disaster but as challenge. Grant's voice remained steady. "Stay flexible. Trust your instincts. We've handled worse on Earth." The crew nodded, their faces determined. Meanwhile, the alien fleets were encountering problems of their own. The Firans' elegant ships, designed for precision, struggled when the currents shifted faster than expected. Their systems required long calculations, and in that delay, one of their ships spun off course. The Zelric vessels, built with rigid structure, cracked under the sudden pull of gravity streams. Their designs were strong but not adaptable, and damage spread quickly. In the assembly hall, whispers grew louder. Delegates leaned forward, watching the screens with disbelief. Impossible. The humans are adjusting faster than the others. They aren't stopping to calculate, they're improvising. It looks messy, but it works. The laughter began to fade. Inside the Endeavor, the crew worked like a living machine. When a panel shorted out, an engineer repaired it with spare wiring. When sensors went blind, Rhea switched to manual navigation, relying on instinct and star maps memorized in her mind. Dr. Hall grinned as he patched another system. "This is exactly what we trained for." Not perfection, not elegance, just survival. Captain Grant looked across his crew. Their uniforms were plain, their tools simple, but their determination was unshakable. "Remember this moment," he said quietly. "They laughed at our seams. They laughed at our engines. But those seams and engines are keeping us alive." The fleet pressed forward, adjusting course with every twist of the nebula. Their paths were not smooth like the others, but jagged and adaptive, like rivers finding their way through rocks. Yet every adjustment kept them moving forward. Back in the assembly, silence filled the hall as the results unfolded. One by one, alien fleets began to falter. Some ships stopped to repair. Others withdrew entirely. But the human fleet kept advancing. A delegate from the crystalline Kareth whispered, "How are they doing this? Their ship should not survive such chaos." The elder Cerathian gave a slow, knowing smile. "It is not their ships alone, it is them. They are builders, not borrowers. They learn to fix what breaks. They learn to adapt. That is their way." The delegates who once laughed now watched in awe. After hours of navigation, the glowing exit of the nebula corridor appeared. The first ship to emerge was not one of the galaxy's great powers, but a plain, dark vessel with Earth's emblem shining on its hull. Behind it, the rest of the human fleet followed, battered but intact. Inside the Endeavor, cheers erupted. Engineers hugged one another. Officers smiled with relief. Dr. Hall wiped sweat from his brow. "We made it," he said proudly. "Every system held. Every repair worked." "We did it." Grant allowed himself a rare smile. "No," he said softly. "We didn't just make it. We showed them who we are." In the assembly chamber, the speaker rose once more. His crystal body glowed brighter than before. "The first fleet to cross the nebula corridor," he declared, "belongs to Earth." Gasps filled the hall. Silence followed. Then, slowly, some delegates began to clap their hands, wings, or appendages in respect. It was not yet universal, but it was the beginning of something new. For the first time, the galaxy had seen humanity not as a curiosity, but as a force. Not because of beauty or tradition or ancient power, but because of resilience, adaptability, and determination. That night, as the humans rested, the stars outside shone brighter. Their ships, though worn from the trial, stood as symbols of a truth the galaxy could no longer ignore. The first trial had ended. The laughter had quieted, and humanity's story had only just begun. The success of Earth's fleet in the Nebula Corridor trial had already begun to change the atmosphere of the Galactic Assembly, but the true test of humanity was still ahead. The next trial, unlike the corridor, was not a simple navigation or endurance test. It was designed to challenge intelligence, creativity, and adaptability in ways no other species had faced. Captain Elias Grant stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, looking out at the stars that stretched like a vast ocean. "This is it," he said to his crew. "The next challenge will show not just the strength of our ships, but the strength of our minds." Commander Sophia Reyes nodded. "And we're ready. Every system has been checked. Every crew member knows their role. Now it's time to see what humans are really capable of." The Galactic Assembly had devised the trial as a cosmic puzzle. A massive region of space, known as the ether expanse, was filled with anomalies. Energy fields that shifted unpredictably, clouds of particles that interfered with sensors, and gravitational eddies that changed direction without warning. Other species relied on calculations, simulations, and advanced programs to predict what might happen. But humans had no long-standing interstellar guidance to rely on. They had to think, adapt, and react in real time. As the trial began, alien fleets entered the ether expanse with confident precision. The Firans moved with elegance, gliding as if they were performing a cosmic dance. The crystalline Kaerith ships shimmered and adjusted automatically, their systems following centuries of learned patterns. For the first few minutes, the assembly observed, and it seemed that the human ships were falling behind. But inside the Endeavor, the crew moved calmly and deliberately. "Anomaly detected ahead," Dr. Marcus Hall said. "Energy flux is stronger than expected." "Manual override recommended. Do it," Grant replied. "Trust your judgment. No algorithm can handle this like a human mind." Reyes adjusted the navigation systems and guided the fleet carefully. Unlike other species that paused or stopped to recalibrate, humans relied on observation, intuition, and teamwork. When one ship encountered a particle cloud, another nearby communicated adjustments instantly. It was not perfect, but it worked. The first hour passed, and alien fleets began to encounter problems. The Firan ships, built for elegance and precision, struggled to adapt to the unpredictable fluctuations. Their systems calculated endlessly, attempting to anticipate the next shift. In some cases, the delay caused ships to drift off course. The Kareth fleets, while technologically advanced, faced similar issues. Their reliance on pre-programmed sequences and rigid designs meant they could not respond quickly to sudden changes. Several ships slowed, unable to progress without risking damage. Meanwhile, the humans adapted. Every challenge was met with a solution that drew on experience, creativity, and collaboration. A ship would encounter a gravitational eddy, and the crew would adjust its engines and trajectory in real time. Another ship would experience a sensor disruption, and its companions would provide guidance until the systems were restored. From the observation decks in the assembly, murmurs grew among the delegates. "Look at them," whispered one Zelric delegate. "Their ships are improvising." "Improvising?" asked a young Firan. "That is impossible. Our ships are supposed to be the most advanced. They're learning as they move," an elder Sarathian said. His glowing scales shimmered. "That is human ingenuity. They do not rely on preset programs. They adapt and solve problems in real time. This is what we have underestimated." For the first time, laughter was gone. The galaxy was beginning to realize that Earth's fleet was not primitive as they had thought. It was alive in a way no one had anticipated. Inside the Endeavor, the crew faced the most difficult section of the trial, a dense region filled with intersecting energy streams that twisted unpredictably. The screens displayed a chaotic map, but the humans did not panic. Multiple streams intersecting, Hall reported. Direct path impossible. Suggest diversion, Reyes shook her head. We can find a path through if we coordinate. Everyone, focus on communication. Share every observation immediately. The fleet moved together like a living organism. One ship detected a safe route through a fluctuating energy stream and relayed the information instantly. Another ship adjusted its engines and shield outputs. They were not following a predetermined pattern. They were creating their path in real time. Captain Grant watched silently, a small smile on his face. This is what we've trained for. This is what it means to be human. Hours passed, and the assembly watched in stunned silence. Alien delegates who had once laughed were now leaning forward in disbelief. The humans were not the fastest or the most elegant, but they were the most adaptable. When unexpected hazards appeared, their fleet reacted instantly, solving problems in ways no calculation could predict. An elder Kareth delegate muttered, "They are not only surviving, they are mastering the anomalies." The elder Sarathian nodded. Humans have a way of thinking that is rare. They combine observation, creativity, and cooperation. That is why they succeed where others hesitate. As the fleet approached the exit of the ether expanse, the final challenge appeared. A massive energy storm blocked the path. Other species' ships slowed or paused, attempting to calculate a safe route. Many faltered, unable to progress without risking damage. The humans, however, moved forward with determination. "Storm ahead," Reyes said, her voice calm. "We will navigate it together. Adjust shields, redistribute power, maintain communication." Dr. Hall monitored the systems. Shields fluctuating but holding. Engines at maximum adaptive output. "We can make it." One by one, the human ships glided through the storm. They rocked and shifted, but they moved as one, relying on coordination and quick thinking rather than pre-programmed commands. From the observation decks, delegates gasped. The human fleet, battered but intact, emerged from the storm without a single ship lost. Silence followed. Then slowly the chamber erupted in applause. This is remarkable," a Zelric delegate whispered. "They are extraordinary." The Firans nodded, their wings folding quietly. Their success is not in strength alone. It is in their minds. They think, adapt, and work together in ways we cannot. Even some of the Kareth, who had long valued rigid perfection, showed signs of admiration. "They have achieved the impossible," one said quietly. The elder Sarathian smiled. "And now the galaxy sees the truth. Humans are not just survivors. They are innovators, problem solvers, and creators. Their fleet is a reflection of their spirit. That is the revelation." Inside the Endeavor, Captain Grant looked at his crew. "We've done more than pass the trial. We've shown what humans are capable of when we work together, when we trust ourselves, and when we refuse to be limited by fear or expectation." Reyes smiled. "The galaxy is watching. They now know that humans are not what they assumed." Hall added, "They will remember this not because we are perfect, but because we never gave up, even when everything seemed impossible." Grant nodded. "Exactly. Adaptability, creativity, and teamwork. That is our greatest strength. And this is only the beginning." As the human fleet returned to the assembly, the reaction was clear. Delegates approached to study, to ask questions, to understand. The galaxy's perception of humans had shifted completely. They were no longer the species to laugh at. They were the species to watch, to learn from, and to respect. Captain Grant reflected quietly as he watched other civilizations communicate with his fleet. They were curious, intrigued, and respectful. For the first time, humans were recognized not as latecomers or outsiders, but as equals and innovators. The revelation was complete. Humanity had proven that true strength lies not in inherited advantage, but in determination, creativity, and unity. The galaxy had seen it firsthand, and it would not forget. The human crew celebrated quietly, not with loud fanfare, but with pride in what they had accomplished. Each member knew that their journey had inspired something greater, a recognition that humans were capable of extraordinary feats. Their fleet, built from determination and skill, had become a symbol of possibility, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. Captain Grant looked out at the stars once more. "They now know who we are," he said softly. "And the universe will never underestimate humanity again." Sophia Reyes placed a hand on his shoulder. No, they won't. And we've only just begun to show what humans can do. The stars outside glimmered as if in agreement. The revelation had changed everything. The victory of Earth's fleet in the Nebula Corridor trial had reverberated across the Galactic Assembly. By now, the laughter that once filled the Grand Hall had vanished. In its place was quiet admiration, punctuated by whispers of disbelief. Humans, a species once considered backward and fragile, had demonstrated a remarkable truth. Ingenuity, perseverance, and adaptability mattered more than elegance or inherited technology. Captain Elias Grant stood on the bridge of the Endeavour, gazing at the starry expanse outside. His crew moved quietly, cleaning and maintaining their ships after the long trial. Though they were exhausted, there was a sense of accomplishment that electrified the air. Sophia Reyes, the second in command, joined Grant by the observation window. "Do you think they understand now?" she asked softly. Grant's eyes did not leave the stars. "Some do, others will take longer. But one thing is certain, they cannot ignore us anymore. We've shown what humanity can do when we work together, when we trust in ourselves." In the assembly chamber, delegates from different civilizations were still absorbing the outcome. Some of the elder members of the Sarathians, usually slow to react, had begun to speak in praise. "They underestimated them," said one elder quietly, his scales shimmering with thought. "Not because they are weak, but because they are new. And when newness is combined with determination, it creates something extraordinary." A younger delegate from the crystalline Kareth species asked, "But how can they achieve so much in such a short time? Their ships are simple. Their species is young. How is this possible?" A Sarathian scholar leaned forward, his voice firm. "Simplicity does not mean weakness. Their strength comes from the mind, from the ability to learn, adapt, and persist. The human race is a living lesson. Effort and creativity can surpass tradition and inherited advantage." The hall remained quiet for several minutes, as if every word needed to sink in. Slowly, a few delegates clapped. Then more followed. The sound was cautious at first, but it grew into a chorus of approval. For the first time, humanity had not only survived judgment, they had earned recognition. Back in the fleet, the human crew prepared for their next step. Though the trial had ended, their mission was far from over. They were explorers, builders, and learners. Every ship in their fleet carried more than engines and metal. It carried the potential for discovery and connection. Captain Grant addressed his crew. "This trial was just the beginning. Out there," he pointed to the stars, "are countless worlds, countless civilizations we have yet to meet. Some will doubt us, some will ignore us. But if we remain true to who we are, persistent, creative, and united, there is no limit to what we can achieve." The crew nodded. They had already proven themselves in the corridor. But the knowledge that the galaxy now watched them brought a new kind of responsibility. As Earth's fleet moved to a quiet sector for maintenance and refueling, news of their success spread across the galaxy at light speed. Alien civilizations that had once sneered at Earth now began sending messages of inquiry. Some offered alliances, others requested technical exchanges or cultural meetings. Humanity, which had been almost invisible in the vast expanse of the stars, was now being sought out. In a private chamber, Captain Grant and Commander Reyes reviewed the messages. "It's amazing," Reyes said, scrolling through the incoming communications. "They want to learn from us, not just judge us." Grant nodded thoughtfully. "We must be careful. We cannot just give everything away, but we can share what we've learned. And in doing so, we show the galaxy that humans do not just take, they contribute." Dr. Marcus Hall, the chief engineer, looked over the data with a smile. "They will see that what we built is not just technology. It's a mindset, a way of thinking that values persistence, adaptation, and creativity. That is our true gift." In the assembly chamber, a special session was called to recognize humanity's achievement. Delegates gathered to hear a report on the trial, and for the first time, many observed the humans with respect rather than curiosity or amusement. The speaker of the assembly, a figure of ancient authority, addressed the chamber. "The species of Earth has demonstrated that true strength does not come from inherited power or appearances. It comes from the spirit to overcome challenges, to create when nothing exists, and to persist when others falter. Let this be a lesson for all civilizations. Do not judge potential by outward appearances alone." Applause filled the chamber. Humans did not raise their voices in triumph. They simply bowed respectfully. Their pride was quiet, rooted in accomplishment rather than boasting. In the weeks that followed, Earth's fleet became a symbol across the galaxy. Ships from distant worlds carried news of the humans' success. Stories of their ingenuity spread not as legends, but as evidence of what determination and collaboration could achieve. Scientists and engineers from other civilizations requested meetings to observe their designs, not to mock, but to learn. Even the alien species who had once laughed now watched with curiosity and admiration. The Zelric, who had prided themselves on rigid structure, began to consider the human approach to flexibility. The Firans, known for their elegance, wondered how the humans' practical designs could survive hazards that would damage their own vessels. Despite the growing recognition, humans remained humble. On board the Endeavour, Captain Grant gathered his crew for a final address before they returned to Earth. "We have done something remarkable," he said, "but we cannot stop here. The galaxy is vast, and there are many more challenges ahead. Our work is not just to build ships or complete trials. Our work is to explore, to learn, and to show that humanity is capable of more than anyone ever imagined. Let us continue to build, to adapt, and to inspire." The crew responded with a firm, united nod. They were tired from the trials, yes, but their hearts were filled with pride and hope. On the way back to Earth, the fleet passed through regions of space filled with stars that had never been seen by human eyes. Nebulae glowed in colors unseen on Earth, and distant planets shone like gems in the void. It was a reminder that their journey was only beginning. Humanity had shown the galaxy their strength, but the real adventure lay ahead: exploration, learning, and creating connections across the stars. In private moments, the humans reflected on what they had achieved. They knew that the galaxy would continue to challenge them. There would be mysteries they could not yet solve and civilizations that might doubt them still. But one truth had become clear. When humans set their minds and hands to a task, there was little they could not accomplish. The fleet sailed through the stars, a living testament to that idea. When Earth came into view again, the blue and green planet seemed small but proud. Humans had left their mark on the galaxy, not with conquest or domination, but with creativity, courage, and cooperation. As the fleet entered orbit, celebrations quietly began across the ships. The story of their triumph would soon reach every corner of the planet, inspiring a new generation of builders, thinkers, and dreamers. Captain Grant looked down at the world below and smiled. "We've shown them what we are," he said. "And we've only just begun." Sophia Reyes stood beside him. "The galaxy will remember this day, and the humans who made it happen will be remembered as well." Grant nodded, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "Let them remember, not for what we look like, not for what they thought we were. Let them remember for what we built, what we created, and what we can do when we work together." The stars outside glimmered as if in agreement. The humans had proven themselves not through power, but through persistence, intelligence, and unity. They had earned a legacy that would inspire countless generations, on Earth and across the stars. And as the fleet settled into orbit, preparing to share their story with the world, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.